me is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. Ooh, it's time again to get into business. It is 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Well, it's a couple minutes after, but you know, I'm as punctual as I can be. Without having a handler, I just, I kind of wing it. I need a handler probably. That would make things a little easier, but currently I don't have one. So it's just me and my best intentions bringing all of this show to you. So hopefully that's working out for us. Seems to be doing okay, but sorry, we're about a couple minutes late. How late are we? I don't know. I guess we're a few minutes late. Sorry, guys. I got it launched as quickly as I could. But I am here to keep you company for about the next hour on this Night Terrors extravaganza. Tonight we're covering the ghostly encounters. And these are what spawned the Night Terrors episodes. Is the ghostly encounters, ghost stories, ghost experiences, and people's encounters with what they believe to be spirits. And I think these stories are awesome. I love them all because, well, assuming they're all real, of course. As I've farmed them over the years, they were all presented as real. So that's what I bring to you on this show. But, I love the idea, again, that reality is dynamic. We don't have this stuff figured out, and things like the paranormal keep reminding us that there's something else going on here. And I love that magic, that mystery, that unknown. I love the unknowns. So hope you guys are doing great. Happy Sunday night to y'all. I know it's the end of the weekend. That's kind of a mournful experience all in and of itself, but just know that I'll be back on Wednesday again. So, and not that that's the only reason you'd mourn Sundays that I'm not doing shows the next 2 days, but I was just, throwing that out there. Maybe that affects you too. But no, it's the beginning of the work week, and that's always a struggle to get back into that weekly grind. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. But anyway, throughout the course of our journey tonight, if you want to call in, you are welcome to. The phone number for the show, which I forgot to connect. I didn't even do that. Let's do that now while I'm thinking about it, because that would be pretty awkward if you called in and I didn't even bother connecting the phones. So we'll get that connected here. Ooh, did it already pick? It picked up quick. I'm so glad these are working again, ladies and gentlemen. God, it was so frustrating when they weren't functioning, but yes, they are now up and live. If you want to call in and be a part of tonight's show, 720-923-0500. So that's the numbers for fun here on the portal. And I'd love to hear from you if you got some ghostly encounters of your own, or just something you want to mention about ghostly phenomena. Just let me know. I'm all ears. Hello, everybody. Hot retarded chicks. Uh-oh. I don't even know what that means, if that's a disparaging thing or is that just somebody I don't know. So I hope I'm not in bad taste laughing at that. But anyway, because I don't like disparaging anybody, especially those that are challenged. But it just makes me chuckle. All right, Hypnosis and Magic is here. Ooh, that's awesome. scare the bejesus out of me. Well, that might not be that kind of show. It's a talk show. We discuss phenomena, hypnosis, and magic. So, this isn't live footage or anything like that, but we talk about weird stories and things that people have seen and been through, and we discuss it. I don't want to say we're the Oprah of the paranormal, but what the hell are we? I don't know what to draw a distinction or a parallel from a well-known talk show. I don't know. Maybe like the Howard Stern of the paranormal. Sometimes it seems that's where a lot of our shows end up, especially when Don's here. But we'll get into it and have a good time. But it's always fun to look up and see new names. So thank you to those of you who are just coming in for the first time, checking it out. That means the world. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you'll stick around and become part of the family. You can do that by hitting the subscribe button and then hitting the bell so you get notified. But we do these shows live Wednesday through Sunday night. Monday and Tuesday are off nights, but live right here on YouTube. So if you want to be a part of it, I'd love to have you stick around. Let's see. I don't know. Is there anything else I got to mention on the front end? I don't think so. So with that all behind us, I hope you're ready, because it's time for bed. Thank you all. All right, so let's get at it here. We are now live and underway here on the Paranormal Portal. I've obviously pulled up some great stories. I hope they're great stories for you to talk about people's encounters with spirits and ghosts. And also, don't forget, at the tail end of the show, we're going to do the trail cam terrors, where we look at a paranormal, allegedly paranormal trail cam photos that were captured out and about. So I'm not making any claims on any of those, because I think there's a hell of a lot of fakes and hoaxes and stuff out there when it comes to trail cam pictures, but they're kind of wild and kind of fun to talk about. So we'll get into that on the tail end of the show. But first of all, I'm going to pull up these ghost stories that I got figured out for you, and I'm going to read through them. And hopefully you enjoy my reading style, because you're in for about an hour of it. Then we'll see what you think at the end of the show. But the first one tonight is coming from Kentucky, and it has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. It says, it all started when I was about 10 years old and my mom had passed away from brain cancer. That's tragic. I'm sorry to hear that. My father had canceled Mom's life insurance policy about 5 years before she died, and about 1 year before she had been diagnosed, due to the fact that we weren't very financially stable. As a result, after Mom died, we lost our home. So we had to move in with my father's parents. We wanted to keep going to school where we had been, and so for a while, my father drove us 30 minutes to school every morning, and then came back to get us every evening. That got old quick, so my grandparents put their house up for sale and bought an old farming property in the district which my sister and I went to school. I hated that house immediately. But what a compassionate thing to do, though. That's a beautiful gesture. The grandparents were willing to just change their whole world for these kids. The house was small, didn't have any running water, and the realtors told my grandparents that it was over 100 years old. I thought that was creepy. It only had 2 bedrooms, so my grandparents took 1 bedroom, and my dad, sister, and myself had to share the second one. It was close to the 2-year anniversary of my mom's death at the time that my grandparents bought the I don't know what this is, Scharcher rate. I don't know how to sell this. It's Scharcher, Scharcher, I guess, place. It was called that after the people who had originally built the house, as far as I know. One night after my family had all went to sleep, I'd stayed up a little later, as I wasn't the most obedient of children and was quite rebellious after my mom had died. I heard a noise like something falling in the walk-in closet, so I got up and walked in the closet to investigate. But nothing was out of place. So I assumed it must have been my grandparents making noise in their bedroom, as their bedroom was on the other side of the closet, and so I walked back in my bedroom, and that's when I saw her. She was kneeling beside my father's bed and had her head down on the bed beside his face, and it looked like she was crying. I didn't know who the person was from the side profile, just that there was a woman there that shouldn't have been. I stepped forward and a floorboard creaked. Well, she looked up towards the sound, and I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach and knocked the wind out of me. My mom stood 10 feet in front of me. She held her arms open to me, and my first instinct was to run into them, which is what I started to do. I only took half a step, and then I stopped in my tracks. I don't understand how I didn't notice it sooner, but I realized that her eyes were red, and she had long fingernails that to a 12-year-old looked like claws. She started coming towards me, and I realized that her feet weren't even touching the ground. To say the least, I got really scared. I ran past her and darted into my bed and pulled the covers up over my head, but she clawed my ankle before I could get there safely, and it hurt. I waited a minute and then peeked out. The room was empty. I don't know how, but I must have dozed off because the next thing I knew, it was morning. And my mama was singing that Gotta Get Up This Morning song that she made up to annoy me as she was cooking breakfast. And I thought it had all been a nightmare until I threw back the covers to get up and saw the gash on my ankle that had started forming a scab and the caked blood around it. I try not to think about that night, but sometimes it's hard not to. It does hurt because since then, I've never been able to have a good dream about my mom. Though I know without a doubt that whatever that thing was, it was not my mom. Wow, what a terrible, terrible thing. I don't know, man. That'd be a tough one because that's diabolical to appear like someone that you love that's passed on, to appear like that. And then to switch it up and, be something evil. That's horrible. I mean, there's no doubt there's some dark things out there. I don't question that even a little bit, but man, that's like wicked. I don't know, man. That's cold. That's really cold, especially for a kid. Jeez. All right. Here's the next one. It's coming from Oklahoma. Haunted places. I lived in my great-grandma's house after she passed away, and I knew it was haunted because of all of her brothers and sisters would stay over there before she passed away, and they would tell me stories of their experiences and encounters with paranormal things. Well, I didn't think nothing of it because I was used to living in a haunted house. So it was about 2 years later after me and my family had moved in, and everything is normal until one night when I was staying up late watching television. In my living room, everyone else was asleep. I was laying on the couch when I heard someone walking up behind me. I thought it was my brother going to the restroom because he has a bladder problem. So I called his name and he didn't answer. When I turned around and nobody was there, I was scared to death because I'd never encountered or experienced something like that. So it's been 3 weeks now since that had happened. I stayed up late again one night watching television and I thought I heard someone talking. It got quiet so that I could try and hear what they were saying because I thought it might have been my mom and dad, but then I heard, "Get out of my house." And I flipped out. So I tried to go to sleep, and I did. And the next morning I woke up. I told my dad what had happened, and he told everyone to come into the living room because he needed to tell us something. He sat us down and told us not to get scared. And then he said, "I didn't want to tell you all when we moved here because I didn't want to scare you guys." But then he told us that the house was built on top of an old Indian burial ground. I was so scared and wanted to move out of that house right away. A year had passed and I got used to living there, and all the paranormal things had suddenly stopped. It was peaceful. Yeah, that's about the worst place. You ever want a haunted house, build it on an old burial ground. That'll get you some action in a hurry. It's too bad that people, so there's some people that are absolutely unscrupulous. Of course, everybody's heard the stories of, cemeteries being moved in order to develop the property for real estate. And then, a generation or two later, you find out they never actually moved the bodies, just the headstones. It's kind of the premise for the whole Poltergeist movie, the first one, and there's something to that, because I don't know what it is about graveyards, but maybe these spirits stick near their mortal remains because it's an attachment of some kind. Maybe that's sacred in some way to the spirit that used to dwell in the bodies. So maybe they stick near that, or maybe some part of them does. And, it tends to, it really tends to upset them when you put a house on top of their graves. And you're just asking for trouble. Now, I don't know that it's necessarily the human spirits that occupy the graveyards. I mean, it's anybody's guess. It could be something else. Could be some other thing entirely. There's no way to know. But, we all have ideas about it. But I think that, man, whatever's there, something always tends to hang around graveyards. Whether it is actually the spirits of the people that used to be alive, or it's something else, either way, there's some kind of spiritual or ethereal presence. And sometimes they're not very nice. So I realize that sounds stupidly simplistic, but it is true. So that was that story. I got another one here for you. I just whipped up a bunch of them for your listening pleasure tonight. So this is coming from Virginia, and this is Haunted Places. And it says, one night, my mom was sleeping on the couch and woke up to find our light-up ball. Well, she fell back to sleep eventually, and she woke up to find the ball there once again. She then threw the ball out of the back door. The next thing she awoke to find was the light finding that light on my sister's bed. On another night, my sister was grabbing clothes out of her closet, and as this happened, she noticed movement behind her. She instantly thought it was me, and when she turned around, she screamed, as it was a little girl she had never seen. As we were in the living room, we heard her scream, and then she told us about her story. Once, as we were searching for pictures, we heard a loud bark. Our dogs were in the living room, so we figured it was them, but it sounded a little different and louder this time. Right away, we raced into the living room to find our dogs were sound asleep. They would have never been able to fall asleep after barking that much. Right away. Well, barking that much right away. Sorry, some of these are written pretty weird. Therefore, it was not our dogs, but who was it? Another time we wanted to make our own haunted house. So we used each other to try to scare our sister and her friends. And when we were leading them into the kitchen, we heard rattling inside of the utensil drawer. We also saw a drawer open and the utensils moving. Keep in mind, all of our lights were out except for one very small flickering light. Only enough light to see to walk. This was a perfect timing for a ghost to act. One day we were playing in our backyard as usual. Then we climbed into our treehouse and found something unusual. We found a knife, which may be the reason for the past story. We did nothing with the knife, but it has shown up from time to time in different places. We're not sure why the ghost would want anything to do with it, but this is our conclusion. That's where it ends. So I don't know what their conclusion of it is, but apparently the ghost is leaving silverware laying around. I don't know. Of course, you go to perhaps this was somebody who was murdered with a knife. Well, maybe. That could be. It's kind of the Scooby-Doo version of the story, but maybe it is. Maybe it's just that simple. I don't know. Sometimes, you can tell some of the stories are written by a younger person, and that doesn't disqualify them. That just means they're not written as sophisticatedly, but it doesn't mean they didn't actually have experiences. In fact, a lot of times hauntings occur to the younger kids long before they occur to the adults. It's like children are first targeted, and then the adults get to deal with it. So, I don't know. Apparently I say that a lot, though. I don't know. And I don't mean to say it because for any other reason than I really don't know. And this is part of my journey is I want to know. I want to understand this stuff because it's fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. This is stuff I'm just passionate about. All right, so let's get to the next one. And this one is coming from Arizona. And this is also haunted places. Lots of haunted places stories tonight. I always sit around in the guest room on the computer, and I've spent the last week cleaning it since I pretty much trashed it. Well, after I packed everything into the closet, I started to vacuum the floor. The door behind me was closed, but I could see from the corner of my eye someone dressed in tan coming up behind me. I turned around, and there was nothing there. Note, I was 4 feet away from the door, so it couldn't have escaped my vision. Excuse me. It says a few minutes later, I was vacuuming again, and the vacuum stopped suddenly in the middle of the room, like it had bumped into something. And this happened frequently over the next few minutes. That same day, I was sitting in the chair on the computer, and all of a sudden, I felt a presence behind me, but I convinced myself that nothing was there. After an hour, it was still there and hadn't moved an inch. The second my dog came into the room, it disappeared. I also sleep in this room because I find the bed more comfortable than my own bed. So when I got into bed and got comfortable, I felt my skin crawling. Well, I got out of bed and checked for bugs a few times, but nothing was there. The feeling finally stopped when I got my dog to lay at the foot of my bed. This leads me to think that the presence is afraid of my dog. It's probably a cat ghost. I also like to keep the desk organized, so I stack books and tapes and everything else evenly on the shelves. I would leave the room to get a drink, and when I came back, they'd be messed up again. And when I am in the room next door, I can hear sounds, like items being moved coming from the room, but the objects that should make the sounds are not out of place. Sometimes when I feel something lurking about in this room, I just ask it to go away, but it never works. Afterwards, I feel pretty stupid that I'm most likely just talking to the air. My family are the only people to live here since the house is only 26 years old. There's no research to be done on the house, and as far as I know, it was built over old farm fields, but no one remembers much else. There is nothing suspicious about the landscape, but friends I have in the area who have houses the same age have paranormal things happen in their homes too. See, there again, it's that that idea that people have that houses have to be old to be haunted. They have to have something horrible happen in them to make a haunting, and that's just not the case. There's plenty brand new constructions on just what was empty land. It was never inhabited by homes or buildings or whatever. It's just a fresh new build on, basically virgin ground, and you can still have horrible hauntings. And I don't think it has anything to do, it can certainly have a lot to do with bad things happening, but, people have attachments sometimes, and you drag stuff with you. Perhaps there is an energy to every place we go. Maybe there's a spiritual presence to everywhere we go. Like this earth, many people comment the earth is alive. Well, maybe this earth has spirits with it as well. And most often those are referred to as like elementals. And maybe they're everywhere. And maybe for some reason, they just don't like you. And I don't know the personality traits of an elemental necessarily, but I assume if they're intelligent and have the ability to have independent thought, then they can just not like people too. And maybe there's a reason they don't like you. Maybe you're just kind of anti their element or whatever. But, that's just the case, because a house can be peaceful for 5 families. And then for some reason, a 6th family moves in and it just goes to Amityville horror time. And it's hard to figure out why, but it just might be as simple as something about you or your family or people there rubbed the spirit wrong. But I really believe that you can't really go anywhere in this world without a spiritual presence being among you. I think that there's an energy and a spirit to all things. I think the First Nations really speak a lot to that. They have they talk about the spirit of the air, the spirit of the earth, the spirit of the water, and they talk to these things. They address them as if they're sentient beings. And there's some amazing stories. Watch something about water. This woman her home was getting flooded by water, and so she went into her basement and had a discussion with the spirit of the water to please spare her home. And she left for a little bit and came back, and the water had stopped. For some reason, it was still raining and flooding all around, but the water stopped coming into her home. And that's really powerful stuff. So is there possibly a spirit to all things? And I think, yes, there is. I think by virtue of things existing in this realm. So we, oh God, I'm going to spiderweb about a lot here. So forgive me about this, but this is my take on all this stuff, is that if things were created by whatever means, and it's up to you to determine what that means for you. But if there was a grand consciousness, whatever you identify that as, that decided, hey, I'm going to make a world and it's going to be full of this, this, and this, and this. This was formed out of nothingness. So is it safe to imply then that the world we live on and in was once a part of this divine creator? And therefore, it is imbued with the same spark. Maybe not the same spark, but with the energy of the creator, or energy that spawns from the creator. And can that have a sentience? Can it have an awareness to it? And maybe that's one of the challenges of life. One of the grand journeys of our path here is to acknowledge and respect the spirit of all things. Maybe that's part of our journey. So I don't know. Just throwing out a whole lot of ideas. I don't mean to imply you should believe anything I say, because these are just my thoughts. But it's my show and I got a microphone, so you get to hear them. But I hope that makes sense to you guys. And I'm certainly not meaning to alienate or offend anybody's belief systems. I think everybody should believe something, whatever that is. If it makes you feel good, gives you love and strength, and emboldens you to face your life, phenomenal. But these are just my thoughts. I think that spirit is not just things that we understand as inhabiting a body, or formerly living people, or, whatever, or other things that weren't human. But it could be a whole number of things that maybe we haven't come to recognize and acknowledge in our Western thinking. So just some thoughts there. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. And if anybody's got any thoughts on that, if you want me to notice anything in the chat, if you want to mention anything to me, hit, do the ampersand, the shift number 2 @, and then do Paranormal Portal, and then capitalize your comment, because then I'll see it. Or at least I have a better chance of seeing it. There's no guarantees on this show that I'll see it, but I'm trying to engage the chat more commonly than I have in the past, because I'd love your thoughts on this kind of stuff. Portal rules, not mine. But if you have thoughts about that too, I appreciate it. Okay. Sorry. I don't know what's going on here. I'm just looking. All right. So those are my thoughts on that. If you guys have thoughts, hi, Jess. How you doing? Good to see you. Walnut and Walnut report sort of regularly. At Paranormal Portal, you got good ideas. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate that, brother. I mean, I don't mean to ever preach. It's certainly not my place to tell anybody what to believe, but they're just my thoughts. I don't know. Doing a great job, my man. Thanks, Disco Beaver. I appreciate that. I really do. It's great to talk to you guys. It's great to talk with you guys more than anything. There's a call. Let's get to the board here and see who's calling me. And this is from area code 406. You're on the air.
Hey, it's Bruce Wayne.
Hey, Bruce Wayne.
From the YouTube chat.
How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to hear from you.
It's very sad and despondent as usual, but that's beside the point.
Oh.
I want to talk about your excellent show and the ghosts.
Oh, cool. Okay. By all means, what do you got in mind?
So I was in high school, and I was about 17, and my best friend was a photographer, and he was into black and white photos.
Oh, sure.
And he was into contrast, and some of the best contrasting photos you can get are in graveyards with the tombstones. They're always, like white granite against a dark background, especially towards sundown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you get that harsh lighting. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I do photography too, so that's brilliant.
So, now, you've spoken to me before, and I was telling you about how, I had been contacted by aliens, and I really don't think I believe that much in ghosts.
Uh-huh.
For some reason, my life experience, I'm almost 60 years old.
Okay.
But I can tell you for sure, I've been contacted by aliens. But let's put that aside. So this guy and me, we used to skip school a lot, because high school sucks, the social atmosphere. But we were both, like A and B students, and we'd just skip school and just go out to graveyards to take photographs of tombstones. Oh. And I would always be careful not to ever walk on top of where a body laid.
Yes.
For some reason, I could get into it, but, I just knew that there were bones of some dead person under there, and it's not respectful to walk on top of them. I mean, I knew right away when you're talking about the TV screen tonight, Static, Poltergeist. I just watched that movie 2 weeks ago, actually, again, for like the 30th time. I love that flick.
Me too. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, man, I can tell you like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
no, there could
this guy, he's like, what?
Nope, go ahead. Sorry, I was interrupting you.
So this guy, like, one day, he's like, hey, let's jump in the car and skip school. It's after lunch. We'd just be skipping the last 3 hours of class in high school.
Uh-huh.
And let's just go out and smoke some dope and in the graveyard and take photos like we usually do. I mean, it's a really cool place to get away from cops and everybody else. Nobody's going to come out in a graveyard and say, what are y'all smoking?
Yeah, that's true.
So, but that's all, man. We weren't on any drugs. Sure. So anyway, he took me out to this place he had found outside Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh.
Where I was going to high school at the time. This was like 1979.
Okay.
And it was a very small graveyard, only about 100 tombstones that had been left all unkept, decrepit, no fence around the yard, and a broken down, I mean falling down, tiny one small church right in front of it on one of these old 2-lane roads, maybe near Mint, North Carolina. Mint, North Carolina is like 30 miles outside of Charlotte.
Okay.
And somehow he had convinced me to drive my car instead of his.
Okay.
Yeah, this is kind of like nervous laughter.
Sure.
Sorry, because this gets really serious.
Okay.
So we're walking back, and there's just a bunch of trees growing up between the tombstones. Half of them had been kicked down, vandalized, broken in half, or either by age. I mean, these were like Civil War type. Yeah. We looked at the dates on some of these stones, and they were like from the 1880s and even late 1700s.
Oh my God.
Mold growing over them. I mean, it's just kind of like horror movie type scene.
Yeah.
So we were just young and stupid, and my buddy goes, oh, there's one right there. It's whole. Let's grab it and take it home.
Oh my God. Okay.
And I went, what? He was like, yeah, why don't you just grab that tombstone and let's take it? Oh. And I guess I was so high, I just said, okay, what the hell? And I picked up this small tombstone, kind of like 3 foot tall, 2 feet wide, 3 inches thick, only weighed like 50 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And picked it up, and we walked back out of the graveyard and back to my car. I put the tombstone in the trunk of my Chevy. And we drove away, and it was almost pure dark. It was like so close to sundown that, it's like that twilight zone where you can see shapes and shadows, but, So we both got in the car, I'm in the driver's seat. He's in the passenger seat. I look up, just kind of like to check everything before I pull out of the driveway. And I see this like white, misty figure, not of any shape or form, suddenly flash from left to right directly behind our rear bumper.
Oh.
And chills ran up my spine. And for some reason, all of a sudden, everything came rushing back to me. I'm like, what in the am I doing?
Right.
And just cranked the ignition and burnt rubber out of there with the tombstone in the trunk of my car.
Oh.
So an hour later, we're back at my buddy's house, and he looked at me at the time, and he's like, I didn't say anything. I was just kind of, he's like, what the fuck, dude? Why are you burning rubber out of your house? I saw something. So anyway, we take the tombstone and out of the trunk of my car, and we go into his basement apartment. And, we're high school kids, so we're like, then we start really smoking dope and drinking, and I don't know what we took, maybe a hit of LSD or something.
Okay.
And we were just watching TV and just relaxing for like 2 hours.
Okay.
And I had taken the tombstone and leaned it up against the wall of his basement apartment, the interior wall, like 5 feet from this sofa at a 45-degree angle where gravity would have normally kept the tombstone in place.
Sure.
Well, all of a sudden, we're just sitting there watching TV, and the volume's low, and we're watching and listening and just relaxing, not saying much. All of a sudden, we hear this slam, bang.
Oh.
We both jumped up and looked over, and the tombstone had flipped away from the wall, down on the floor, and split in half.
Oh, man.
And the damn thing broke in half directly between the date of birth and the date of death.
Ooh, yikes.
On the tombstone.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And so, we were highly freaked out. We threw both pieces of it into the trunk of my car, drove back to the graveyard, and put it right back where we found it.
Good for you. I'm glad you returned it. That's powerful, but yeah.
With an apology.
Good.
When I was there, I was like speaking to entities that might or might not have been there, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I fucked up.
Please watch your language. Yeah, don't swear on the show, please. But yeah, that's powerful.
How you like that?
That's
a true story, man.
I believe you. I'm glad you made it right at the end. That's at least as right as you could. But yeah, that's freaky. That's freaky stuff.
Is that enough to believe in something human from beyond? I don't know.
I'd think I'd be leaning towards believing. Yeah, I'd be believing. Yeah, I mean, if it's a 50-pound tombstone and it flipped away from a wall, landed and split, I mean, that's already, physically not possible. But seeing the apparition before that, I think, you've got a couple of really powerful experiences in there.
I had a warning and I ignored it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I paid for it. And I was incredibly, I mean, you might not hear it in my voice, but at the time I was terrified. I was both me and my friend were incredibly frightened.
Yeah. That's,
we've never been back to that place again.
Yeah. That's probably best. There's some things that I think are absolutely taboo, and one of them is messing with the dead, that it can invite some really horrible things into your world. And again, I'm glad that you made it right.
But I would never mess with a buried body.
Right.
But I'm just trying to, just a little signal here. Don't mess with tombstones either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're connected.
Yep.
That's like a message from the family. Mm-hmm. And I think when we researched it, the guy was a Civil War soldier who'd only lived to like 30 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, these are incredibly ancient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really powerful. Wow, brother. Well,
that's... it's just, I thought I'd share that with you. I love your show.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate you doing that. It's nothing's more powerful than a personal experience. And that one is amazing.
I swear, I wish I had never done that.
Yeah.
I'm so sad
that
I did that. I hope nobody ever does it. Well, I'm supposed to be buried at sea.
Oh, okay.
I'm a sailor, United States Navy. So think about that. Now, what about if I get buried at sea?
Well, if that's
and
weird.
It's supposed to be off the coast of Virginia Beach.
Okay.
And some boat comes cruising along, and they see something floating that looks like a bone, and they stop and grab it.
I think wherever your body lands, that becomes hallowed ground. I think, it's like, it's a special kind of commemoration to your remains. And I don't know, do bones float? I don't think they do.
If they're new,
well, that's
if they're old and the worms have gotten to them, no.
Oh, okay. Well, well, let's just hope nobody snags you while they're fishing or something. But I'm just kidding. That's kind of in poor taste. But no, man.
Right.
I appreciate your service, though. Thank you for that. And hopefully that day doesn't come for a long time.
Oh, you're worth it, my friend.
Hopefully that day doesn't come for a long time. But I'll be here in the
meantime. So I get a lot out of your show. I really appreciate all the tangents that you go on and speculations and
thanks.
What ifs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's good to hear. And people have told me that too, but I always get a little nervous about it because I don't want to ever come across as preachy, because nobody knows. But I just get these thoughts and ideas, and I'm really grateful to have this forum and an audience that's willing to listen to them. So you guys are awesome for putting up with them.
Well, I know. I know what happened to me.
Yeah.
I know what happened to me. And then you got to think about all these people that are listening right now say, well, this guy could be just totally making this shit up out of a plain cloth.
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, maybe something happened to you too.
Or maybe it will.
Fit in.
Amen, brother. But thank you so much for your call, Bruce. It's great to hear from you. I really appreciate you again calling in.
All right, I'll let you go, man. Happy trails.
All right.
Some other callers.
Okay, thanks, brother. We'll talk to you. All right, very cool. And we got another call. And this is coming from area code 701. You're on the air.
Hello, long-time listener, first-time caller tonight.
Just tonight, yeah. How you doing, Naysay?
I'm doing as fantastic as the universe allows, my brother, and hearing your beautiful voice just raises me to higher limits.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. It's great to see you again. I know you've been busy on Kev's show, but I appreciate you still slumming it with us little people.
Well, I hope you noticed the love bomb that we tried to send Friday night.
Yeah, you guys are great. I mean, it's always amazing the amount of energy you guys bring for me to coast off of. That's really cool. So thank you guys for that. I appreciate it. So what's on your mind tonight, brother?
Many years we've had this enjoyment of sharing space. I thought I'd bring up some old stories that more likely I've shared with the portal before, but since we're talking about some graveyards,
please.
I was going to tell a story about Rose Lawn Cemetery in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Please do, sir.
As a high school kid, being high school kids, somebody told us about a crypt that is haunted. Mm-hmm. If you drive up to the front of it and you go up to the windows of the crypt, eventually you will see a figure in the crypt. And so me and a group of friends, we decided to do this. Pull up to the front of the crypt, and you're supposed to pull up perfectly perpendicular with the crypt so your headlights go on the front of it.
Okay.
And so we do this. We go up to the crypt, and then there's some little kind of interesting windows. There's kind of stained glass windows around the whole crypt.
Okay.
And you go to this main window, and we're looking in there, and then sure enough, there is something in the crypt that looks like an entity.
Wow.
Of course, the girls immediately got scared, and the boys tried to act tough and stuff, but it did work well, and we got out of the graveyard pretty quick.
Yeah. Wow.
But because I am always like, well, I got to use a little bit of discernment here.
Okay.
So I contact the cemetery, and I said, hey, I got a question. I was told that there's a haunted crypt right at the intersection of, because the crypt is right at an intersection, and it's diagonally, it's not squared with the intersection in the graveyard. It's at a diagonal, so at the corner, looking at the crypt, it would then be squared off to you.
Okay.
And so the guy laughed, and he said, yes, but unbeknownst to everybody, if you get your car situated just perfect, because the grass is a little elevated from the intersection, and so it shoots your beams of your headlights towards the top of the crypt, and along the top of the crypt is a lot of the stained glass motifs and whatnot.
Okay.
And because of this, it refracts the light into the crypt, where on the back wall there is a huge picture of the person that is buried in the crypt.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And so what it is that you're seeing is the figure of something, but unfortunately, because you don't get a good light visual of it, because it's hitting all of these stained glass windows that were dark in color. So what you're seeing is the reflection of this person's photo.
Okay.
But it's one of those things to give a good scare.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, that being said, as you know, I don't poo-poo the paranormal, because I've had my fair share of this incredible world that we get to experience. But one thing that I've been pondering lately, because we've talked about this before, because I am also of Anishinaabe descent.
Yes.
And we ponder about the millions of Native American lives that have been horrifically taken from Mother Earth over the history of America, or North America in that guise.
Yeah.
So I am starting to believe, because of, just in the Bible where they talk about ashes to ashes, dust to dust, I think a lot of these Native Americans have been fortunate that they were not buried in the extreme that we bury today, whereas we live our life through herbicides and pesticides and additives and preservatives, and then when we die, we get embalmed. So we continue to plasticide our bodies.
Yeah.
Then we're put in a oh no, I'm losing the word. The coffins, they're hermetically sealed.
Oh, okay.
And then the coffin is put inside a concrete block.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to speculate that because of the indigenous peoples being fortunate where a lot of their graves allowed the bodies to go back to Mother Earth, that they are more apt to be going beyond the realm. And I think that a lot of these spirits, the ones that possibly try to make their existence known, may be due to this weird way of putting bodies in the ground now, to where we don't get to go back to the Mother Earth. However, I do know from experience that spirits that have been taken abruptly, especially in horrific ways, do tend to linger around more so.
Yeah, it seems that's a real common thread, that if some tragedy happens, sometimes the spirits don't even know they're dead. They just don't know what the hell's going on. They're kind of in this confused state, and they may linger for years and years or decades, not really even knowing what happened and trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And what I've always suggested humbly is do not confront entities or spirits or ghosts or, different semantics of what we call it. Be respectful.
Yeah.
Acknowledge the existence of such entities and kindly ask them to leave.
Right.
Do not get combated. Do not get caught up in your ego, because sometimes what happens is when we cast out entities, when we do have to use a little bit more force to have some of these spirits removed, sometimes when these spirits go back and hang out with all the other spirits, just like kids on a schoolyard, the group of bullies sometimes hang together. And if some bully learns that a lower level bully got pushed around, sometimes they might say, "Oh yeah, well, you think they can handle me?"
Right. Yeah.
So it's best just to be respectful.
Yeah.
Ask them to leave politely, and then if worse comes to worse, I know Brent has a couple numbers on speed dial that he could help you with.
Yeah, we've got a few people that cooperate with us here on the show, and if people have need of getting some assistance, getting something out of their house or space, or at least helping them understand what's going on, these people have generously volunteered their time and their energy into helping people if they need help. So just reach out to us here on the show if you're dealing with something horrible spiritually, because, we have some options. It's not like we're not going to help you. We'll help you any way we can.
And absolutely, please, for the chat room out there, I love you and I miss you, and I'm hanging around a little bit today. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and definitely share it, because Paranormal Portal is the place to be. Amen. Where you want to find a bunch of happiness.
Absolutely.
I love you, brother.
All right, love you too, man. Thanks for calling.
You bet. Toodles.
All right, see you now. There you go. It's been a wonderful night of participation. Thank you to both of our callers. That's my highlight of every night, is when you guys participate. I know you're always participating, and part of it is my problem that I don't notice the chat enough, and that's something I'm working on. I'm just glancing at it here and there tonight, seeing if I'm supposed to be seeing something, but again, you guys make this show great. I'm just here turning on the lights, picking some topics, and you guys are the ones that bring the color into my world. All right, so I guess we can call that a wrap, except we still got to do the trail cam terrors. So I hope you're ready, because we've got some terrifying trail cam pics to check out. Not really too scary tonight, but interesting. Kind of interesting. Well, I'll just leave it up to you. Let's go to the trail cam terrors. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Trail Cam Terrors section of our show, and this is a little segment I threw together where I go out and look for some images, paranormal images that were captured allegedly on trail cams around the country. And tonight's image it's not as clear what the hell we're looking at. I'll just put that out there. But could it be? Maybe. And I'll just bring it up on screen and let you tell me what you think. And tonight's image is that a Bigfoot in the distance? Is he stalking a deer? It's hard to say. Now, first things first, obviously that's very far into the distance. Maybe not as far as it looks, but it looks like it's quite a bit away. But I will read you the narrative of what I could find about this image, and you can be the judge and see what you think. And it says, there's literally hundreds of thousands of supposed Bigfoot sightings every year in the United States of America alone. However, a shockingly low percentage of them have been shot on trail cameras. Little editor's note, I believe that's because they know they're there and they have an idea what they do, so they don't go in front of them on purpose. But anyway, I think they get surprised once in a while. I mean, nothing is perfect. So it says, moreover, and probably less shocking, only a few Bigfoot trail camera pictures are in any way credible, but this is one of them. It says, in the upper right of this image, we can just about make out what looks like a hairy bipedal creature leaving the clearing in which the trail camera is erected and entering the dense collection of branches and leaves. Giving credibility to this picture as a legitimate Bigfoot sighting is the reaction of the deer in the foreground. While the animal had once been in peacefully inspecting the trail camera, it is clearly unsettled by the presence of the abnormally large beast and is keeping a close eye on it in order to protect against a sneak attack. So they're saying enormous beast, but, I don't know how enormous this is. There's really nothing to give us any real scale to what we're looking at here. I don't think it's much over normal human size. It may be a little broader, but, I don't know. Again, I'm not saying it's not, but this is just my take on it. It's like, well, and it's right on the edge of that left antler is what we're looking at as the key figure in this frame. I don't think it's huge as they're describing in the narrative here. I think these trees are, maybe, I don't know, 1.5 feet in diameter. And so therefore what is this, about 6 feet? Maybe a little more, maybe less. And it's kind of hunched over, which is appropriate for a Bigfoot. But is this a Bigfoot? Well, it's kind of up to you to decide. Again, I don't know who took it. I don't know what the circumstances of the shot are. I can tell you it apparently came at about 6:02 in the evening on November 11th of 2012. So it's not brand new, but it's brand new to me. I just found this, so I wanted to feature it tonight, and let's see what you guys think. But that's the claim, is that could be a Bigfoot, but we don't really have enough to go on here to make any distinct, for all we know, hell, it could be a dark stump. Could have been a stump that was hit, was burnt or something in the past. There's just no way to tell. But could it be? Sure, it could be. But it could be a lot of other things too. This is certainly not nothing conclusive by this image. But an interesting thought. Maybe Bigfoot out there stalking deer, caught on a trail cam. I don't know. Maybe that's why it left the clearing. Maybe it was stalking the deer and decided, oh, is that a trail cam? I'm out of here. Maybe. Hard to say, but I'm leaving it with you guys. You guys can be the judge and make your own conclusions on this, but that is tonight's Trail Cam Terror. Let's do it. What? Is that a wolf howl? I love the wolf howl. Arr. All right, folks. I think that was a glorious journey into the Paranormal Portal. And again, this is our last live show this week. We take Monday and Tuesdays off, but we will be back on Wednesday to do a live 2-hour show. Don should be here then. Make sure to pay attention later if you're one of our podcast listeners. Later on tonight, probably better tomorrow. I'll try to get it up as soon as I can. There'll be a new podcast released, and this is a discussion I had with a gentleman from the East Coast who's had quite a few paranormal experiences, ghostly encounters of his own. So I hope you guys will check that out. And that should be, again, probably later tonight. It'll get all solidified and out there in our feed. But if you want to check it out, I'd be greatly appreciated. If you're one of that 14% that said, hey, you guys have a podcast too? Yeah, we do. It's on Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Stitcher, Castbox, Google Play, and a number of others. So I hope you guys will check it out. Thank you so much for being a part of the journey. Thank you to our callers tonight. Thank you to all of you in the chat. Deep breaths. It says Long Island Bigfoot. Peeps, thanks for, and Brent, of course. You're awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate it bunches. Good night, Mom. Love you. And remember, I love you. And so I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for being here, being a part of the journey. I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody. And I'll see you on Wednesday night. Until then.